No one expected a single jump shot to tilt an entire sport off its axis. Yet that's exactly what happened the night Caitlin Clark flicked her wrist from the edge of the midcourt logo. 30 feet of hardwood became a launch pad. 3 million. Televisions blinked in unison, and a league that had spent 28 summers fighting for oxygen suddenly couldn't breathe fast enough. Behind the roar was a truth older than box scores. Great stories need a hero, a villain, and a stage that feels almost too small to hold either. Clark supplied the heroics, Angel Reese volunteered for the shadows, and the WNBA, arity or not, became the hottest ticket in America. But that was only the prologue. 5 months earlier, Clark walked onto the Gainbridge floor, carrying more hype than some entire franchises. She responded with a triple-double so casual the scorekeepers looked embarrassed to write it down. 20 points, 10 boards, 10 dime stat line symmetry that once took Sue Bird a decade to perfect presented. Here, as a warm-up exercise, the cameras lingered on her grin while arena staff scrambled to find 50 extra seats for a fire. Marshall already shaking his head. Outside, StubHub prices punched through the ceiling. Inside, broadcasters thanked every deity they knew for a rookie who makes primetime feel late. She didn't do it alone, of course. Angel Reese was there, long limbs, longer glare, LSU ring flashing under arena lights. Yet for all the pregame chatter about grit versus gloss, Reese's box score read like a radio stuck on mute. A handful of rebounds, a couple of free throws, nothing loud enough to interrupt Clark's aria. Fans sensed the imbalance instantly, the way a crowd senses weather. One gust, and half the arena war fever read. The rest half cheered for drama, half wished it would never end. Clark felt the shift too. She chased her own passes, sprinted the break, slipped behind a screen so deep the defender glanced over her shoulder, certain a switch was coming. There wasn't. The ball sailed, the net snapped, and the broadcast graphic politely informed viewers they had just witnessed the longest made shot in franchise history. Game 1, Quarter 1, welcome to the show. Dominance alone doesn't make a myth, conflict does. And conflict arrived 3 games later, disguised as a loose ball. Natasha Howard scrapped for position, Reese lowered a shoulder, and an elbow found its way into the scrum. Clark watched the shove, inhaled disbelief, and enacted every coach's clinic move she fouled before the layup. A clean take foul textbook. Whistles shrieked, players untangled, and for 20 seconds, it was just basketball. Then, the clip hit social. Someone trimmed the shove, cut the context, slowed Clark's contact to half speed, pasted a villain soundtrack on the loop. Millions. Clicked before coffee, opinions calcified before sunrise. By lunchtime, Clark was a bully, Reese a martyr, and nuance drowned beneath the algorithm. The rage machine spun so fast it forgot to ask who won the game, Clark. Who filled the building, Clark? Who set the single-day record on the WNBA store that night, Clark again? Narratives move faster than facts. That's why they win the sprint. Pat McAfee does not whisper, he storms. The morning after the clip went nuclear, he marched onto his ESPN set, brandishing more receipts than a tax lawyer. They clipped the first foul, he barked, pacing beside a monitor freeze-framed on Reese's shove. Hey, took context, stuffed it in a blender, and sold the smoothie for clicks. The studio chuckled, but McAfee sharpened. Caitlin Clark is the golden goose, he said, and folks are trying to cook her for content before the eggs even hatch. It wasn't merely defense, it was indictment. He rattled off numbers, sellouts in every zip code, a Nielsen spike that dwarfed Monday Night Baseball, 9 20-10 games in 41 outings, a shooting range that makes high school gyms feel cramped. Then he turned to camera 3 and called the outrage lazy spin. 48 hours later, the edited clips reached stalled. The full clip tripled it. McAfee had hijacked the algorithm, and suddenly the conversation shifted from Clark's foul to Reese's shove, from villainy to business. Money changes the subject every time. The fever flew west to Seattle, and the ticket office panicked. Demand quadrupled. The upper bowl reopened. Local radio debated whether the Storm or Clark was the bigger draw. 2 weeks later, in Phoenix, Diana. Torres's retirement tours shared headlines with a guard barely old enough to rent the car that drove her to the arena. Merchandise vendors whispered that Clark jerseys outsold the combined stash of all home players by halftime. Dallas called the Mavericks for extra ushers. Las Vegas flashed Clark's silhouette alongside championship banners because business knows no rivalry. ESPN cut mid-game to showcase viewership hovering above 2 million and climbing. Commentators searched for fresh metaphors. Box office felt stale. Rockstar too vague. Steph-like incomplete. What do you call an athlete who rewrites a league's financial model before her sophomore slump is even hypothetically possible? The simplest word turned out to be the truest. Revolution. Revolutions rattle empires, and gatekeepers felt the tremor. An anonymous GM survey normally buried beneath spring training chatter broke trending tabs. Asked which player they would build a franchise around today, half the league's architects wrote Clark's name. A landslide in an exercise that rarely grants anyone 30%. She tied for best point guard, won best shooting guard outright, yet curiously finished third in projected MVP voting. Respect acknowledged, Crown withheld a balancing act as old as dynasties. Fans saw the hedge and howled. Pundits shrugged. Clark smiled, shrugged back, and drained 7 threes on Connecticut 2 hours later. Inside locker rooms, veterans studied film on how to pick her up at 35 feet without surrendering driving lane. Coaches drew new zone principles on whiteboards. Assistants hunted for college tape, hoping for clues that no longer applied. Front office interns refreshed secondary market prices like day traders. The memo was clear. Guarding Clark is physics. Monetizing her is arithmetic. Resistance found a willing face in Angel Reese. She posted cryptic TikToks, flexed a villain caption, soaked in every boo. It worked. Her Reebok pre-order line jumped 20% the week after the clip war. Kids wore Bayou Barbie tees in cities she hadn't yet visited. Rivalries lift every yacht, even the one listing hardest. Reese might lose the stat sheet, but she wins headlines, and headlines keep lights on. Clark played the counterpoint, refusing social subtweets, no podcast shade, only replies of passes curling behind her back like magnetic tape and 32-foot lasers that sliced nets before defenders. Pivoted, each silent response poured fuel on the debate. Was she cold or composed, cocky or clinical? The question mattered less than the ratings it sparked, because the currency of sports has always been attention, and Clark spends it like a billionaire. Philanthropists lavishly, relentlessly, always on brand. All of which sets up July 19th, All-Star Saturday night, Indianapolis Hardwood, a showcase scheduled months earlier, but fated to feel preordained. McAfee's crew will broadcast courtside, Reese's circle will tease a new episode, and 30 camera crews will chase the unavoidable collision. By then, Clark's rookie records may already reside in history. By then, the MVP race could be a 3-woman sprint balanced on decimals. Yet one question will hover above every scoreboard. What happens when a league's visibility rests on shoulders still learning to carry it? Some fret burnout, yet Clark's minutes are down compared with college. Others cite defensive schemes tightening, but her assists keep climbing. Critics insist hype can't last. Ticket revenue counters in real time. This is that rare story where every metric, ratings, sales, social reach shouts louder than any columnist. Metrics don't care who started the fight. They reward whoever keeps the lights brightest. Back when the story began, silence never sold out a stadium. Rivalry did. Brilliance did. A pull-up from a neighboring zip code did. Caitlin Clark isn't just running the league, she's rewiring it. Angel Reese isn't merely chasing her, she's sparking the voltage that keeps us watching. Together, they're forging the kind of sports saga that forces every generation to remember where they were when the shift began. Drop CC is the GOAT in the comments if you feel the tremor. Smash subscribe so you never miss the aftershocks. And buckle up because this revolution is only in its second quarter.